It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs, have some fun.
And welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So glad you could join us today. And for the next hour, we'll be talking Giants football. We are a little bit later than usual, as John told you during yesterday's show. Today, tomorrow, and Thursday, we are starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time because of changes to the Giants' practice schedule. And then we'll see about what happens on Friday and then the ensuing weeks as we lead up to the regular season. But for now, you can get on the line at 201-939-4513. Paul Dottino and Jonathan Casillas, two-time Super Bowl champ. So glad you could join us, and hopefully you'll be able to ring us up anyway. I know your schedule's probably a little different these days. A lot of people call us during their lunch hour, Jonathan, but now they're going to have to call us during work. Maybe you could take a cigarette or a bathroom break.
Or maybe on their ride home from work. You know?
Cigarette? Some people do. Some people do. At a previous job, I had they were built in. You could take a 10 or 15-minute cigarette break. In any event. Of course, I didn't smoke, so I just took the break. Move on! Anyway, 201-939-4513. If you don't catch us live, an archive of this show and our entire podcast network is on the Giants mobile app. Podcast platforms everywhere and at Giants.com/podcast. All right, Jonathan, we got to go through some roster situations today for the Giants. Bunch of guys got nicked up over the last week, and then, of course, in the game on Saturday in Houston. For instance, Micah McFadden did not work today. He's week to week, according to Coach Dable. It says John Runyon was down today, but he is close. Flott still down, getting close. Locke and Phillips not working today. Good news, Dante Miller was able to work today. Let's see, who else did he say? Adams and Devontae Johnson week to week. Carter Coughlin worked today. Javarius Owens still out. Cager still out. Gunnar Olszewski still out. Tracy worked today. Neal and JMS ramped up today. And also Long was out today. So that's the list of all the folks who were in and out at practice for various dings and bruises and bumps and all that kind of stuff. The Giants had shells today because tomorrow they've got a dual practice with the Jets at 1 o'clock down at Florham Park. And there's going to be a lot of hitting going on, Jonathan. I think you and I both know that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And depending on what this weekend's playing time looking like for the starters, you know, may not be a lot, may not play at all, but what you can guarantee that it will be ones-on-ones tomorrow down in Florham Park. And everyone knows that. They know that. The Giants know that. The only thing you don't know is who's playing this weekend. So what they're going to do, they're going to get the most out of their little bit of plays that they get tomorrow. It's not going to be a lot. There's always a limited amount of plays that they do in practice, right? Mm-hmm. But it's going to be intense. That's for sure.
Now, I think the interesting part about this is 2 years ago, the Jets came up here for 1 day of practice, and it went very, very well. There were no issues at all. We know a couple of weeks ago when the Detroit Lions came here, things got a little abrasive. Yep. As I like to say, a little sandpapery over the course of the 2 days, and as you probably know, there were reported fines to both teams. Brian Dable was asked today, after that incident, what do you expect with the Jets coming up tomorrow? And he said, look, I'm going to tell the guys we don't like fighting at practice. Well, it's great to say that, but again, I think these players are going to be going at it pretty strong tomorrow, and I hope nothing breaks out, if only because I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Right. The regular season's just around the corner.
Yep. And look, I don't know if the Jets are the same, type of program that, Detroit has with their fiery guys, because, Amon-Ra St. Brown's fiery, bro. Like, every single time he caught the ball, he didn't want nobody touching him or anything. And, the Giants had a problem with that. I don't know if it's going to be like that per se, but you just never know. It might be some bad blood there, or just – somebody just doing a little too much one play, and that might carry on to another play. You just never know. I'm going to be there. I'm excited to see it. Excited to see my guy, Thomas Morstead. Yeah. We were in the same year to New Orleans.
With the Saints,
won the Super Bowl with him.
Here's the thing, though, and it kind of goes back to what you just said a minute ago. about how guys don't know if they're going to play in Sunday's preseason or Saturday's preseason finale, which means they may go a little extra hard tomorrow, thinking that's their last chance to actually show or get some good reps in. That almost lends itself to some nastiness.
Yeah. But football's nasty. Football is,
It is.
It's a violent sport, so I expect them to, some stuff to happen, but I think even the last day of the Detroit Lions practice, the second day, it was very much reduced, but then at the end, tensions kind of boiled up a little bit. I don't expect it not to happen, but I'll be definitely okay if nothing happens, with that practice. There's a pros here, and now that the young rookies kind of got it out their system, hopefully it's it's in the past.
Yep, we will have to see. Again, that's tomorrow, and so the practice at Florham Park is from 1 to 3 Eastern Time. We'll be on with Big Blue Kickoff Live. Fingers crossed everything works out mechanically at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. No video. We don't have the ability to set up video down there, but we will be live audio only. And we thought it was worth it to you guys to be able to cover the practice appropriately and still do the program even though we cannot have video.
You can still call in.
Absolutely.
Nice.
It's a live show, and you guys can still participate, but it's going old school like we were years ago before we had the cameras. All right, today's practice, shells only in the 11-on-11s. These were your highlighted plays. Jack Stoll, the tight end that the Giants have, twisting, extending catch along the left sideline, beating Isaiah Simmons, who had good coverage. That was a really nice throw from Tommy DeVito. We also saw a pass defense by Trey Hawkins on a right crossing route that was run by Theo Johnson. He perfectly timed to knock it away. Let's see, what was a couple other highlights here? Let's see. I had McLeod with a pass defense, also on Stoll on a sit-down route over the middle, timed it perfectly, closed and knocked it away. And to be honest with you, it was, again, a very nondescript practice because I think Coach knows he wants to ramp it up tomorrow going against the Jets. So he didn't really want to work the guys hard today. And oh, by the way, how about that weather? 75 degrees with a cool breeze.
Listen, it's better than what we had the last couple of days, all that rain we got. Man, I had my daughter's birthday. I had to clean the grill. And then right before I could cover it up, it rained hard. Next day, I wiped it down again. Let the cover was wet, so then I let the cover dry. Rained again. Grill still uncovered. I finally covered it today because it was raining every day.
There you go.
Now it's beautiful out. Look, it's getting a little cooler. The air a little bit
Tomorrow,
cooler
too.
at nighttime.
Yeah, tomorrow too.
Fall is upon us. Fall
Oh
brings
no,
football.
no. They told us this is
Listen.
only 3 days.
Really?
Yeah, we're gonna get
Go back up again?
We're getting steamy Friday.
Yeah, but at least it's a little taste of some coolness because it's
Yeah.
been hot this summer, Paul.
I know.
It's been really hot this summer.
96 in Houston on Saturday, okay?
Frick, man.
Heat index was 108.
Sheesh.
But even with the broken roof, they closed it, and there was air conditioning in the building,
Yeah.
and Howard Cross did not melt.
See, I'm not talking about that. I could care less about the players. I'm talking about me. Talking about me when I leave here and I got to get my hot car that the leather has been sitting in the sun for 30 minutes and now it's smoking hot.
I got you. 201-939-4513
You
is
ever
our phone
touch that
number.
seatbelt by accident?
Ooh.
And it's just 200 degrees.
One of those,
By accident, you're supposed to touch the seatbelt. Okay?
They have a
Look who's
plastic
calling who,
part
not
on it.
politically correct. Okay?
Not the
You're
metal.
The metal
Paul.
part, Paul.
All right. 201-939-4513 is our phone number here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. And let's see if we can immediately get to some quick phone calls here before we start reading those spots again that we have to get to later on. Alex in Bergenfield, you're on line 3. You're first on BBKL. Hello.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Hi.
What's up, brother?
All right. Yeah, and just pretty much I didn't really have much to talk about. Just I want to make a bold prediction with the Giants who get 11 wins if the team stays healthy.
Okay.
I like
And
that.
then something that I was just thinking of that came to my mind, if the inside linebackers don't get healthy, they had to make a move. I was looking at the available free agents. I was thinking Frankie Louisville and Levante David. Maybe if the the injuries continue where they can't start. That's
Levante
pretty much
David's
all
a
I got.
free agent right now? He's not a part of the Buccaneers right now?
No. I know he was set free. I don't know if he's still on
wow.
the street as of this moment.
That's crazy.
I'll take the caller's word for it while we look it up. I will say this. I think that the Giants are of the opinion that their linebackers are not going to be long-term and won't miss enough time to force them to make a move before the Vikings game. I don't think that's in play. But I understand, you're trying to be proactive and come up with a plan B. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure they have one upstairs. I don't think they're going to need to use it.
Yeah, let's hope, Micah, who had a tremendous year last year, hopefully he's back, in a relative near future. Because this is the thing. After the Giants play the Jets this weekend, there's like a 2-week bye. There's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Between that and, the first game against the Minnesota Vikings. And if he has any, a slight ailment, which, whatever they had, the groin they diagnosed him with, we don't really know, how drastic that is. But I think 2 to 3 weeks should be fine, and you get Micah back. Micah's good. And then Deontay Johnson, who's also on the injury report, he's been having a great camp. So I don't really know if they're looking to bring somebody in for the linebackers, per se, middle linebackers, per se.
Muasau, we will tell you, took a lot of reps today.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Darian Beavers is also in that mix as well. They got a couple of guys they've just brought in over the last couple of days, and I don't know that they're more than placeholders, but I think they've got enough guys to play this preseason game against the Jets.
Yep. Given what the Giants do with the starters, because Bobby's really the only healthy guy that's in the ones at the linebacker room, and who knows how much Bobby will play come this weekend.
I'm looking here to see if David has landed anywhere. He was a heck of a player for the Bucs for a number of years.
Listen to me, Paul.
Right.
Pearson, I want you to listen to me too. My guy from Bergenfield, listen to me too. So I got to Tampa in my fourth year.
Oh, by the way, he did resign. He did resign with Tampa.
So I got to Tampa my fifth year. First year I was in New Orleans. My first 4 years I was in New Orleans. I get to Tampa. I'm very confident in my abilities to play weak side linebacker. Very confident.
Right.
Then I started watching film of the last year Buccaneers, and I started watching them at 54 run around the field at weak side linebacker, and I instantly said, I cannot do half of the things that this kid does. Levante David has been a phenomenal player since day one.
2012, second-round draft pick.
Since day one in the NFL. Since day one.
Yeah.
And the kid is a phenomenal player. It's something about them South Florida guys that play football. They literally play football. And it's like me. Like, I was an athlete, right? I ran track. I played basketball all my life, and I didn't play football until I was in high school. Levante is one of those kids that's been playing linebacker since he was 6 all year round. So when you get to this level, me and him was the same size. He was doing things that I never did and never could do.
Right.
And it's something about some of them South Florida guys, like the Vilmas of the world, even like the Jackrabbits, like those Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, like them Florida guys, man, that play football all year round. They got a different type of like football anatomy to them when they play, and Levante's David, that guy. I tell you what, he's an instant upgrade in any linebacker room. Not just because his skills, yes, he's a little bit older, but his leadership abilities, man. He's developed into such a strong leader, man.
Some of the linebackers who are on the street, caller, just so you have an understanding: Shaq Leonard, Quan Alexander, David Mayo, Van Der Esch. I believe he actually retired. I don't believe he's on the street right now. I think he's done.
Next stuff.
Anthony Barr. Those are some of the names that you might recognize who are available as street free agents. But again, I don't think the Giants need to go shopping.
I don't think so either.
So
unless one of these injuries are a little bit more serious or somebody else gets hurt, knock on wood.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
201-939-4513. Jason in New Haven, you're next on the show. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's going on?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for taking my call. Just a few things. Paul, I wanted to say, man, it's a shame. I heard our boy Ryder Anderson was apparently waived the other day.
Waived, injured yesterday, and it kills me because now he has had two years of injuries that totally sidetracked him, and he was having a good camp. He was in the mix as a 3 technique who could also play defensive end, and I'm really, really feeling bad for him right now.
Yeah, Paul, I'm with you on that one, Paul. I was really had high hopes for him.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good against Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
He had that big tackle, the one he got hurt on. So, it's just I had high hopes for him, but, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. So hopefully he could, get healthy again and maybe see what he could do next year and go from there. So a few things, and then, I'll be quick. The first thing was, listen, I think, I always try to call to stay positive. I don't see what it would cause fans to be positive, especially going into a new year. And I bring that up to say, that Daniel Jones pick, the first one, the pick 6. Listen, I watched it. Trust me, I was very what word do I want to use? I was very upset about the decision he made. But here's what I will say. It was his first game, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying the facts. It was his first game back in 10 months. And while he did look shaky the first few reps, he got better as the game went along, in my opinion, watching on TV. I don't have all 22, and I wasn't there like you guys. But he looked good to me. As the game got on, he started to, get going. And as atrocious, and I will admit, it was a bad pick. I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't. But I don't know if Dable called that play, and I will relay this to you guys. Paul, you've been around for a long time. Jonathan, you played, in the NFL for a long time. I don't know, and maybe you guys could tell me if I'm wrong or right. Do you think Dable would call that play in a regular season game? Because when I don't know how I feel about running play actions when you're so far backed up in your own end zone. I mean, I'm not putting this on Dable, but I find it hard to believe he would call that in a regular season. Would you guys agree or disagree with that one?
It depends. I mean, it's a situational play. Once you get the run game going, that opens up the door for play action. So I hear what you're saying about being backed up and kind of it's a delayed pass play. You got to put the ball in the running back's chest, pull it out, and then now the play, basically the pass play starts, from the quarterback position. So it's a little bit longer to take, but who knows, man? Dayball, look, I think he's a good play caller, but it takes the quarterback and execution of the offense to make him a great play caller. And look, the Giants, I think the mindset that they have is they will run the football this year, and the play action only truly works if the run game is working. So I think that's the Giants' priority. We'll see, man. And I think, we saw in the second half, and I agree with you, he responded. That's the word I'm going to use. Yeah, he came back and he played better. But for me, it's that he responded. Because in football games are long, man, and stuff happens. You can get hit hard early. You can make a good play early, a bad play early. Things happen. We don't like that the first 3 drives, it was kind of like on the quarterback about some of the passes that he made, the interception, the pick 6, the interception, the potential interception on the first play. But he responded. I didn't see a guy that was rattled. I just saw a guy that made a bad decision and a bad throw. Right. You know what I mean? I didn't see him rattled at all, and that's good. Now, there wasn't the first string defense in there for the Houston Texans. But like I said, he didn't look rattled. He made some good throws after that, the one to Slayton, a couple of neighbors after that. So that's what you want. You want a guy who, yes, everybody knows that it's his first game back. That's why all eyes were on him. That's why the critics are so hard on him, because when you're out for so long, they're going to watch you. And his first play happened to be really horrible, and the first couple drives were not that good, but he responded. That means something. That means something in life. That means something in this game. And for me, you can definitely take some positivity out of that. Yes, it was horrible to begin with. Me and Schmoke was watching the game, was like, oh, this is really bad. This is going to be a long day tomorrow. But then he responded, and I felt better leaving that game than I felt after that second interception. Mm-hmm. After he got off the field and he led them to 10 points, that wasn't the prettiest either, but at least he responded, and he didn't kind of let it snowball on him.
I'll give you 2 comments about the particular play, and I agree with everything that Jonathan just said. But I'll also go in 2 other areas here. In terms of the play call, I think you're right. Brian Dable does not call that play in a regular season game in those circumstances. Right. I would be shocked if he does. He's made it clear to us, and it was even announced on the television broadcast last week against Detroit, he is bare bones vanilla in the preseason. He is not using his bag of tricks in the preseason. He's just doing some bare bones, simple vanilla stuff, and I would venture to say you may not even see anything he's running the preseason during the regular season.
Absolutely.
You just may not. Okay?
Absolutely.
So that to answer your question in that angle, I'm going to agree with you. Second thing, I get it. There's a ton of people out there who just want to absolutely burn Daniel Jones at the stake, and any mistake he makes, they're going to multiply it 100 times, and they're not going to let it go, because that's how those people are. They're short-sighted, they've got blinders on, and they can't help themselves. They take pleasure in just ripping a guy to shreds for a mistake. But here's what I saw on that play. A horrible, horrible throw. Mental decision was terrible. Physical execution was terrible. But how about Chris Manhertz, the tight end? 6'6", 235 pounds, and he let Derek Barnett go right through him, right past him, and attach himself to the quarterback's legs in the end zone. Shouldn't it bother somebody? And I'm sure the coaching staff was bothered by it when they turned on that film. Before Daniel Jones lets that ball go, somebody's got to be sitting there saying, how is that defensive end getting in there and attaching himself to our quarterback's legs? How is our tight end, who is known for being a blocker and has a huge boxcar frame, allowing Derek Barnett to get into the backfield in the middle of our end zone?
Right. No, you're
but
right.
you didn't see any writer talk about that, did you? No, the writers didn't write about that.
No.
No.
But you know why? Because you talked about, like, everybody wants to, burn Daniel Jones at the stake, but, like, he kind of had to match.
He did.
On
It was a terrible, and I've said this. Horrible execution, horrible decision. But there was something else wrong with the play that precipitated that.
Yep.
And that is Derek Barnett came right through. Derek Barnett cannot do that in the regular season.
The great thing about preseason is it's a good time to try things. As an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you try things. You don't want to get too crazy because you really want to see your players perform. Your first string guys, your second string guys, the guys that are proven, not really talking about those, but all the other guys, the new pieces that the Giants added on offense, every single young guy on the entire team, regardless of position, you have to see what this kid's all about. What you don't want to have them doing is thinking. You don't want to have them thinking too much because you really want to see if the kid can play football.
Absolutely.
Is he tough? Can he read and react? Can he do what he's required to do with minimal thinking? And then, of course, you can put more on his plate. So you're going to see a lot of vanilla stuff, but you're also going to see some things that you may never see. And one play that I think that we didn't have a chance to see that we could have saw, if I'm not mistaken, the Giants went for a field goal, and they made the field goal. It was 4th and 6.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they should have went for it. Because why not? It's preseason. Let's see how your offense does on a 4th and 6. You know what I'm saying? Like little stuff like
that.
The
Texans did on 4th and goal.
But that's what I'm saying.
And Dexter Lawrence knocked it down.
Little things like that is like, would the Texans normally do that in the regular season? You see what I'm saying?
They wouldn't.
Little plays like that is like the Giants. I mean, they have opportunity to take advantage of. But like, there's little plays like that when I look at preseason, it's like they wouldn't normally do it unless it happens. Because you say they wouldn't normally do it, but then they might do it.
Then the Giants also probably wanted to get a look at Gano.
Yeah.
Okay, because he's coming back
and who knows
off of a knee issue.
How many more opportunities they'll have in the game. Right.
And they still need to get their field goal protection ready, too.
Yep, indeed.
So, it depends on what you're looking for.
Indeed.
Yes, sir.
So, a few bullet points, and I'll take it off there so you get other callers. Few positive. I want to stay on the positives. That's just who I am as a fan. To me, the last few games, and I know people will be like, oh, they didn't play the ones. Last time I checked, Derek Barnett has been a pretty good player in the league for a while.
Sure has.
And
he's hurt this team enough at times, too.
Our old friend Mario Edwards has been in the league for a few years. So I know fans, I know pundits are like, oh, they didn't play the ones. Here's what I'll say. To me, the best part of the preseason to me, and of course it has to translate over to the regular season. We know that. But to me, the offensive line has been, I don't want to say awesome, but they've been, and I'll use your word, Paul. They've been functional.
Yeah.
And there's been some plays, especially in the Houston game, where there were some long developing routes that some of these guys are running.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I could tell, I don't really remember, outside of the pick six one, I don't really remember Daniel really being looking uncomfortable in the pocket. And to me, that's a major thing that I think most fans should be taking out of this preseason. The offensive line has looked, in the words of you, Paul, functional. And to me, that's the one thing I've been looking for in the off season and the preseason. How is the offensive line going to gel? And we were missing Runyon. So, listen, if this offensive line really could step up and give Daniel some time, the rushing has looked well. We push. It seems like we always make a good push on the line of scrimmage. Singletary wasn't really hit behind the line of scrimmage, which we saw a lot the last few years with Barkley. And to me, I'm taking that as a big win. Hopefully we could carry it into the season. And I'm so excited about this O-line. We need to have a functional O-line so we could give Daniel an opportunity to find neighbors and hire. 3 more players. Chapman, like Mr. Banks said on the broadcast, he made the team. I mean, that play within itself.
Yeah.
You don't really see too many defensive linemen running 40 yards down the field to not even get close to a running back, but to make the tackle. Now, of course, he stepped out of bounds.
He looked so good doing it, didn't he?
45 yards.
And before that, he caught a holding penalty on, I think it was Shaq Mason or one of the Texans guards that pushed them back. I mean, it seems like every time he's on the field, he's making some kind of play. And I'm so happy. I mean, he was one of the guys I called a few months ago when we signed him, and it seems like he's really making a name for himself. So I don't see how he doesn't make the 53 unless he gets hurt. Knocking on wood, I'm not putting that out there, but it seems like he's safe bet. And then 2 more players, Benton Whitley, number 48. I know he's a no-name edge rusher, but the last few weeks that I've seen him play, that ghost rush he had against Detroit was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made some plays. I don't know how the back-end rotation of the pass rushing group is going to be, but in my opinion, I don't see how he doesn't make the 53. I know Ojulari was a second-round pick and Basham was a second-round pick, but if we're just going based off the production on the field, no knock to those 2 gentlemen. To me, Whitley's outplayed them, in my opinion. And then Jacob Johnson, he's had some good blocks. I don't know how that tight end room fullback kind of thing is going to pan out, but he looked really good to me, especially coming off the couch. I think we signed him last Thursday or Friday, and I would like to see what this Jacob Johnson could do. And listen, fan, and this is not for you two. I'll take it off the air after this. I think a lot of fans, Paul and Jonathan, and I'm sure you two know this, most fans never liked that Daniel Jones pick. I'm just being honest. I don't want to speak for every fan, but that's just the feel I've gotten. So, like you said, Paul, any little thing he does, the national media is going to jump on him. His own fan base is going to jump on him. And I just never understood some fans wanting to boo the quarterback. Is he perfect? I don't think either 3 of us would say he's a perfect quarterback. But you know, at the end of the day, from what I remember, people booed Phil Simms and they booed Eli. And Eli and Phil brought us championships. So, Daniel, if you can hear us, man, there's some dudes still room for you. Just play within the scheme, find an open man, and there's some of us still room for you. So, thanks, guys, for taking my call.
Thank you, Jason. Very intelligent call. Had a lot to say there and a lot to unpack. I'll just go real quick and just say this. I agree with the optimism. The offensive line has been functional through these first 2 preseason games, but it hasn't been the starting 5 that they anticipate to play against Minnesota. You know, Runyon wasn't in there.
Van Ruden's been getting a lot of good work, though. It's good for him to get that work.
It is. But the problem now, you know, JMS just got in there for a couple of handfuls of plays. I would feel a lot better, and even Brian Dable admitted this to the media. He would feel a lot better if they had their starting 5 and they could be producing together.
Yeah.
And so that's the one little footnote and a caveat that while there's optimism, there's hope, things are going in the right direction. Boy, you sure wish that your starting five could be playing some snaps together, and they haven't had a chance to do that yet. By the way, Evan Neal did take a bunch of reps today with the second team during 11-on-11s. We should mention that.
At right tackle, right?
Yes, at right tackle.
Good
So
for
he
him.
is starting to ramp up.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. What was one other thing I wanted to go back to, Jason, that you were talking about? Okay, linebackers. Yeah, I don't see Whitley making the team over Ojolari or Basham, who have had good camps.
Me neither. No, me neither.
Okay.
And I think it's prime for those two guys to like make a big impact this year.
Yeah.
You know, the addition of Burns is not just good for Burns. It's good for a lot of people. You know, Kayvon being one of them. Mm-hmm. You know, Kayvon last year, he really didn't demand a double team, but now they will not double team him. They will double team Burns though.
All right, Jacob Johnson picked up just the other day, was with the Raiders for 2 years. Prior to that with the Patriots for a couple of years. They were short on tight ends. They didn't pick him up as a fullback per se. They picked him up because they were short on tight ends going into the game because of injury. And so Brian Dable grabbed him because he knew some of the schemes and some of the calls from the Raiders because Priscilla was there as the offensive line coach. So they had some familiarity, and of course he also had some connections with the Patriots in the past. So they knew he could go in there and play a number of simple plays. They used him more as a fullback than they did as a tight end. That's what he does. He's a terrific special teams player and more of a blocker as a fullback. I don't know what his chances are of making the team. I honestly don't know the answer to that. But I know this. Yes, he came in off the street and he gave them some productive snaps, which is good for him.
Yep.
Because even if he doesn't make the team, he shows everybody how ready he can be on a moment's notice. And that's good when you put it on tape.
Yeah, and he has the versatility. Like you said, he can play fullback, you play tight end, he plays special teams. When you're looking for a guy to basically add depth to a room, they have to check those boxes. Versatility, special teams, check.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it depends. You know, you never know who's going to be the guy that makes the big play this weekend come against the Jets. That'd be like, I think last week it was the kid that ran the guy down. It was him. He was the one that made the play during the game, Chapman, that you're like, oh, wow, who's this guy? You know what I mean? Like, that happens pretty much every week, and the chances, because now went from 4 games to 3 games, the chances now are very, very limited. And so this week, if you're watching the game, depending on how much the starters play, I'm thinking even if the starters do play, they're not getting more than a quarter. You know, that's for sure. They're not getting no more than a quarter. The Giants already went 2 halves with the first team. And I think the Jets probably going to have a similar approach in terms of what they've done this preseason. And the added joint practice is going to help that as well because they're going to get good work tomorrow. So I don't really expect the starters to be out there a lot. What I'm going to be paying attention to, who's going to be those last couple guys that's basically going all out. And preseason is a lot different than regular season. You know, a guy like Johnson, like you were talking about, a guy that's going to play mostly the whole game, play all special teams, most likely, and then play a lot of defense or offense. You know, like, you're going to be so tired. They don't expect you to make all the plays, but they want to see you fight through that.
Effort.
They want to see you fight through that. When you're dead tired, you can't breathe, and you're trying to come out, and they're like, we can't take you out. We ain't got nobody else. And then you go out there and you make a play, or you do something good, or you just fighting, and they see that stuff, man. That's the stuff that even me, I can't really see it. Because of where I'm at, we're up in the freaking press box most of the time watching the game or on TV watching it for away games. But, like, when you're on the sideline, you see it. The guy comes over after he finished and he gets on the knee and he's huffing and puffing. And then he gets up, he's like, all right, I'm going to go back out there. Like, that is something built into some of these guys that the Giants need to find at least a couple more of those guys to round out the 53-man roster.
So how about this about Chapman, okay? We were just talking to him in the media availability right before we got ready. And he was asked about running down J.D. Taylor, the running back in Houston the other day. He ran 45 yards downfield, and he closed on him, which is amazing, right? So he was asked about it. He's like, you know, did you know that you were going to be able to catch him? Or, you know, why did you do it? And he, check this out. I'm paraphrasing, as I always do on my Twitter page, Giants WFAN. He goes, he knew there was nobody left in the defensive backfield who could catch the running back, that he was gone. So he goes, I knew somebody had to do it, so I did. He says he once ran 20 miles per hour in college.
Dang.
20 miles an hour.
That's rolling.
He does admit to being 5'7" and a little bit over 280 pounds.
He's
now,
not 5'7".
No, I'll be 5'11". 5'11".
Oh, I'm about to say,
I'm sorry.
what?
I'm sorry.
My daughter is 5'7".
No, 5'11". He's 5'11". 5'11". I slip of the tongue. Now, here's the funny part, right? So one of the writers goes, I think the Giants had a guy named Mendenhall who was a 94 like you are. And I said, oh, timeout. John Mendenhall was 64, okay?
Number 64.
Number 64. Mm-hmm. Mendenhall played in the 70s for the Giants, all right? He was one of the great defensive tackles of that decade, had been an All-NFC player once, never actually made the Pro Bowl. One year actually had 10 sacks, believe it or not, as a defensive tackle.
That's impressive.
Mendenhall, and I immediately, I said, Elijah, here's the guy. I said, go talk to your coaches. Ask them if they can get the film guys to go into the archive and pull out some John Mendenhall tape. You need to see this guy. Because you are Mendenhall 2.0. Because back in the day, when linemen were 280 pounds, okay, Mendenhall was 6 feet tall, 255. He came out of Grambling.
He's an outside linebacker now.
Okay? Mm-hmm. You're not kidding, right?
A short one.
6 feet, 255, and he played defensive tackle in the 4-3 and nose tackle in the 3-4. John Mendenhall. He was short and stout like a fire hydrant. Had a motor that was as hot as a flame, would never stop. You get the similarities?
Yeah.
Okay? Strong as an ox, pursued up and down the line of scrimmage against the run, and could penetrate into the pocket and push the front of the pocket. This guy has so many similarities. He's like the modern-day version of John Mendenhall because he truly is a good 20, 30 pounds lighter than most of the linemen he's going up against. Yeah. And that was the case with Mendenhall.
Yeah, you have to use what you got, man. And he's a strong, basically athletic kid for that position.
And oh, by the way,
with a motor.
Mendenhall also came from Texas.
Oh, wow. Good for him, man.
How about that?
Listen, I'm like, it's hard to watch some of these, these games where the stars are out. And literally, like, when the starters came out of the Giants and Texans game, the game really slowed down. There's a lot of punts.
Oh, it did.
It was a little sloppy stuff.
That second half
But then Elijah Chapman comes out and makes an amazing play. So it's like, I'm looking to see who's going to be that guy this weekend for both teams because I'm in the area. We don't really cover the Jets, but, we get them on TV and stuff. So I want to know who's playing for the other team across town.
I got you.
Yeah. Don't look at me like that, Paul.
Okay.
Don't look at me like that.
I'm just wondering why you're wasting time watching Jets games. That's all. All right, real quick, want to get to a couple of spots first, and then we're going back to the calls, 201-939-4513. Run or walk with Giants legends. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K Racing Kids Run presented by Quest on Saturday, September 7th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds benefit the Giants Foundation, and all participants receive a commemorative T-shirt. And then later on, you can stay for a post-race festival, appearances by Giants legends, and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. Now, free and open to the public, the Giants Fan Fest will take place Friday, September 6th, presented by Wendy's at MetLife Stadium. Doors open at 5 p.m. We'll celebrate 100 seasons of Giants football with a ceremony honoring the top 100 Giants. There'll be autographs. There'll be panel discussions by Giants legends, historic displays, photos with the Lombardi trophies. That's always cool. Also, an unbelievable drone, light, and fireworks show at the end of the night. Get your tickets now by visiting giants.com/fanfest. The Giants Huddle podcast has interviews with Giants and NFL personnel. Go to giants.com/podcasts. You can also go to your favorite podcast platforms or Apple Podcasts. Season ticket memberships for 2024 are available. Not just for game day, folks. You get benefits all year round. Learn all about those exclusives. Go to giants.com/tickets. Limited inventories available. And Giants TV is the free app where you can get all kinds of Giants highlights. It is on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. That takes care of our announcement for today. And we now go to Wilson in Roxbury. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, Paulie. Jonathan! Dímelo!
¿Qué tal,
Wilson? This is the second
Wilson?
time I get you, man. This is the second time. Listen, I wasn't even planning to call. I was just going to go see if I catch up, any of the press conference, and then, wow, you guys popped up. I said, this is crazy. So I said I had to call.
Okay. We're happy you're happy.
Let's go, Wilson.
Hey, listen. Paulie, listen. I love Daniel. I think Daniel is a top 10 talent. You know that. But the one thing he couldn't do, he did. He gave all these people that don't believe in him ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that actually like him, he made it very hard for us to defend him.
It's a good point.
You know, Jonathan, it was like, whatever, they want, it's like when you go somewhere, okay, I can't do this. And you, boom, the first thing you do is that. He made it, he couldn't do that. He did. I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't know if you believe in this or not, if you agree with me on this or not. The most important game of his career is the first game against Minnesota. He cannot, under any circumstance, bomb. If he bombs Jonathan, 80,000 people are just going to come down crushing on him. And they're going to be calling from that moment on for Drew Luck. So it's crazy to say that the first game of the season is the most important game. For Daniel Jones, it is.
Wilson, I think he understands the spotlight of New York, and the great news is that mentally he's fully prepared for it.
And I argue this. I'm gonna go straight team captain on you. The next game is always the most important game.
Oh, look at that, huh?
But Jonathan, I know that.
He knows how to work a locker room. There you go.
But for Daniel, not so much team-wise, Jonathan. You feel me?
No, I feel you, Wilson. I know.
Yeah, the outside noise. I get it.
Listen, I know how this stadium works. The MetLife right across the street. I know how it works. I watched them. Listen, I was at the game when Eli got honored. I think it was the Ring of Honor induction. And Evan Ingram didn't have a good game. And I watched him boo him off the field and cheer when they took him out of the game.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that because I've been around teams that got booed at halftime. We used to make it our point as a defense to say we want this home team that we're playing, that we're visiting, to boo their home team at halftime. This is a stadium that will boo you. They won't wait to halftime. They will boo you ASAP.
Wilson, it's the New York fan, and New York fans are so passionate about their teams
100%.
that when things don't go well, they will take out their frustrations. Look, my dad tells me he remembers Mickey Mantle getting booed.
Yeah.
I have heard Jeter and Dave Winfield get booed, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but Paulie, listen, the difference is with Daniel, unfortunately, there's people, there's fans, there's the media, they haven't believed on him since he was drafted 6th overall.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's part of the problem. You know why, Wilson? Because those people will never be convinced. Because they were against him from the beginning. And let me make something clear, and you know this. I thought Eli Manning should have started for another season. I thought they drafted a quarterback a year too early because I thought Eli Manning had another season left in him, and I thought he should have been with the Giants for another year, played another year as the starting quarterback, and they were going to be able to put off drafting a QB for a year. That's what I thought. And you guys, if you want to go back to the archive, you'll see that I said that.
I'm not going to say what I thought.
I'm not backing. No, I'm not backing off.
Paulie, Paulie, listen, I thought the same thing too.
But at the same time,
Eli got the raw deal.
But at the same time, I also know what I saw in Daniel Jones, and I believe that he's got what it takes to win games.
And listen, Wilson, Wilson, real quick, listen to this because. For some reason, in New York media or the hype or whatever, with the city, the city that never sleeps, the place of dreams, all that good stuff. It's so hard to win in New York. Like both teams, all teams, right? The Knicks, the Yankees, like Mets, like all the teams, the Rangers, but specifically football, right? The New York Giants and the New York Jets. How many quarterbacks has one for either franchise? You understand what I'm saying?
Jonathan, let me tell you something about the New York Jets. The New York Jets, man, haven't played a meaningful game in November in 15 years, and somehow they have the 8th most odds to win the Super Bowl. which is, I mean.
Well, they have a
win
four-time
the game in
MVP
December,
at quarterback, so that's a little bit of an argument.
A quarterback who's older than Methuselah, by the way, and coming off a full year of being out of the lineup
after
for
playing
injury.
4 games, so yeah, I mean 4 plays. Excuse me, 4 plays.
Okay. And by the way, all right. Hey,
let's get back to the Giants.
We're gonna let you go, Wilson. We got to get another call in. Thanks for ringing us up.
So, can I just talk about Wilson real quick?
Please.
Because when I come on the show, he's very light, or he's like a little bit too much, right? He's kind of like joking around.
He's a lot more fun when you're on the show.
Right. But I've heard him call one time, and he gave like an analysis. I was like, yeah, Wilson, he knows his stuff.
Oh, he's got to go.
Like it was one. I don't know if it was you, if it was Paul Sitek. John and Sitek. I don't know who it was, but I try to listen to BBK as much as I can to know what you guys are talking about. And I heard Wilson call in, and he was like so thorough. He was so like he knew numbers, he knew guys, he had a great perspective, and I was like, oh, he's not an idiot like he comes off to sometimes. Sorry, Wilson. I love you. I love you.
That's a backhanded slap if I've ever heard one.
You. But sometimes he comes at us a little crazy.
Oh, he
comes at us a little aggressive.
Sure,
but I respect your call, Wilson. You know what I'm saying? I respect your call, and I respect your input. And that call that I saw away from when I spoke to him, I was like, okay, Wilson.
Well, he's a fun caller.
Yeah, he is.
Because even when he's a little off base, he's fun.
He makes us, get up.
He just focuses on the headlines a little too much.
A little too much. But he has a great perspective as well. He just gets steered away kind of by the headlines, like you said.
The problem is he recognizes the headlines are overblown, but then wants to talk about them.
Yeah. Exactly.
We go to Len in Maryland. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hi, Len.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm well, and I know you had to love that Mendenhall conversation, didn't you?
That was wonderful, and I was going to sum it up for Jonathan. Everything that Paulie said is correct, Jonathan, but here's the real way to describe John Mendenhall. He's number 77 on that top 100 list.
Okay.
He's inside 1% of all-time Giants players.
Yeah.
That sums it up for me. The man could play.
Oh,
it was
man.
It was a terrible era, Paul.
Yeah, it was. It was. But you know what? He was fun to watch.
Oh yeah, tough dude.
Real
dude.
tough.
Yeah. We're down to 21 on that all-time list. They, just released it today. I'm sure you saw the names, guys. Man, we're into royalty now. Holy cow! Only 20 left, and you could almost line them up. 20 through 40 guys. I almost think they should have alphabetized them. It was so tough to separate those guys.
I got you.
But I think 1 to 20, it's just going to all fall into place, and it's been fun watching this. Back on the booing for a second, and then a comment on Daniel. I go back pretty far, Jonathan.
Hey, Len, they booed Tarkenton too, didn't they?
I'm going to go back further than that.
Yeah.
They booed Connolly in the 50s.
Yeah, that I don't remember, but I seem to remember them booing Tarkenton some.
Yeah, they booed Tittle in 64. They booed Tarkenton in the 70s. They booed Phil.
I know.
They booed Eli.
So, I mean, it's just it's part of the passion. And the guys who could deal with that or shut it out and then persevere are the guys who will come out ahead.
But that's the point I was trying to make earlier, and I totally got lost in it because I'm talking about the demeanor of Daniel Jones. I think he has the right demeanor to play and win here.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to make. And, of course, he has the tools and all of that stuff, too. Of course, he has to make better decisions, but he has demeanor. I'm telling you, I've watched guys come on his team and quit while I was playing here. They couldn't take it. They quit. They said, I'm done. I'm good. I don't want to do this.
Yep.
Because for some reason, it's a lot here. It's a lot to play here. You know me, I'm right at home. I'm from 20 minutes away.
You're a Jersey guy, man. Jersey tough.
From here,
Jersey
baby.
tough.
Well, and you look at all the sports teams, at least the ones that I follow. There were guys who weren't well suited for the Yankees, weren't well suited for the Knicks, weren't well suited for the Rangers, and they really did have tough times. Listen, no excuses for Daniel, but I think it got a little overblown, and part of it was the following: we waited 8 months for Daniel to get back. We waited all week for a game. We waited all morning for
10
kickoff.
days. 10 days.
We waited
Thursday to
all
Saturday.
morning for kickoff.
Daniel waited 9 months
And
to
then we
get
got-
back into
and
a
then we
game.
got-
Come on now. Come
then we
on,
got the first quarter.
he had to have a lot more patience than you did, Len. Okay? And guess what? His rehab was a lot harder than anything you had to go through.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that. I'm just saying part of the coming down hard on Daniel had to do with we were kind of on edge, waiting for it to happen. Waiting for it to happen. Hey, I got a question about injured reserve. Is anything different this year? Are there any new rules? I thought I heard somebody say that maybe you could designate, you could put someone on injured reserve before you set the 53 and label him as for return. Or do you have to make the roster to go on the 53? And I'm thinking about, Deontay Johnson, Owens, the safety. Did they have to get on the roster first before they can get on injured reserve, or are the rules different this year?
All right, here's the thing. Guy goes on injured reserve. He's got to miss at least 4 of the team's games. And when they're on IR, they don't count as part of the active roster, but their number counts as part of the salary cap. Okay?
Right.
But what about the preseason? Because the preseason designation was different.
All right, now here's where it gets tricky. All right, a player can be designated for return twice in a season. I'm calling this up right now. After 4 games, a player may be designated to return, which opens a 21-day window while they can go to practice. You can designate a player to return twice during the season, and each team is allowed only 8 returns from IR.
Wow.
Okay? So, now here's the thing. If you want to have him as a designated return, my belief is he's got to be on the 53 first.
Okay.
Then he can go to the designated return list.
Okay.
Yeah, because if he goes on IR before the season, he's
out
on
for the
IR
season.
for the season.
He's out for the season still. Okay?
Yeah.
So now here's the one thing now, okay? You can, if you have 2 guys already on the injured list at the time of the cutdown, you got to do it prior. Like right now, the Giants have Anderson. Well, no, Anderson was waived injured. He's not on the injured list. Who's on the injured list right now? Injured reserve. Coda?
I see Tyree Jackson and Kajus.
Okay. Kajust is on the injured list.
Yeah.
Okay. If you put the guy on the injured list now, you are allowed 2 guys to be on the reserve injured list who can then be eligible for return during the season.
Oh, that's good.
But you can't do it at the 53-man cut. It's got to be a previously injured player. Kajust is already hurt, and he's on the reserve injured list now.
Okay. And of course,
it's tricky.
Yeah,
it's
it
tricky.
is. And they tweak it kind of like every year. They kind of tweak things. Good question, Lynn.
Yeah. I thought there was a slight difference. Yeah, thanks for explaining that, Paul.
Yep.
How close do you think? I know Joe Shane spoke to this today. Someone said, "How close are you?" I think it was Boomer. Was he on Boomer this morning?
Yes.
Was Boomer covered? Was he at camp?
Yes.
I think Boomer asked them about how close are you to knowing who the 53 are, and he quickly said 51, and then backed off it a little bit. And he said, "No, it's probably less than that." And he had an interesting formula. He talked a little bit about 22 on up. Did you hear this, Paul?
I did not hear this particular comment.
I saw a tweet, I believe.
I do know this. Shane mentioned last week on the Kay Adams program that he and Dable had already gone through the preliminary 53 twice, and they will continue to do it as they churn through the rest of training camp.
And that will probably change, given that you have a week. You have a really hard practice tomorrow, and then a game. And then we all know football, injuries happen, stuff happens. Who knows?
And Brandon Brown, by the way, the assistant GM, did talk to us earlier today.
I like that.
And he's awesome. He's a great dude. Fordham guy.
He's not going to be here long, though, man.
Oh,
somebody going to get him, bro. Somebody going to get him. Pearson is it.
But Len, for
he got one more year.
And
that's
everybody
it.
else out there, he was asked about the corners in particular, and he said they got a bunch of young corners who are 24 years old or younger, and they're still trying to get those guys to mature and hoping that Flott can get back soon. because they would like to see if he can hold that spot. But he also added they will keep the radar open because the waiver wire is going to be coming up in a few weeks. And if they find somebody who they think can hold it down, like when they found Fabian Moreau a couple of years ago, they're not going to hesitate to make a move.
Pinnock as well in that time?
Pinnock came from the Jets, and Moreau was a street guy.
Yeah.
Is it fair to think that something big must be cooking? Because when they restructured Thomas, it's a little late in the game to be restructuring a player. I mean, they freed up a lot of money, and from what I understand, there's about $18 million left in the salary cap. That's a lot to carry through the season. I think something's cooking, guys. I think something's going to happen.
Here's what I'll tell you, and that's certainly possible, Len. There's no question. There are several possibilities for what the Giants were thinking. One is they've got something in mind that they want to pull in the next few weeks. Absolutely could be. All right? I'm not going to get into Joe Shane's head. It's not fair for me to do that. But that's one possibility. Another possibility is that they believe this team has a chance to really compete this year, and they want to make sure they've got plenty of money in case they got to make some moves during the season and make a late season push to try to make sure that they're in that playoff conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you need money to do that. Okay?
Right.
Number 3, it could also be, believe it or not, as a hedge, all right? We created some space. We want flexibility, but also there's nothing wrong with creating that flexibility because once you have it, you get to keep it if you don't use it, which means then later on toward the end of the season, if they decide in the middle of the year that they want to extend somebody, they can do that too. Or they could just roll over all this space into next year. So there's no penalty for them to do what they did today.
Yeah.
They didn't lose anything.
I know there's no penalty, but you usually see something like that at the beginning of free agency in March.
Understood.
You don't see it. You don't see it right before the. That's what led me to think that maybe something's cooking in there. They're looking for another down lineman on defense.
I don't think it's a down lineman. I think they're more looking for a cornerback.
I was about to say,
it's going to be a down lineman.
Corner. Yeah.
Look, they were so comfortable with their defensive line room, and I know Ryder Anderson just got hurt, but they traded Jordan Phillips the other day.
Right.
Yeah.
So they know they've
Jonathan.
got defensive linemen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quick one for Jonathan.
Yeah.
Google Arnie Weinmeister. He's number 21 on that list. A defensive tackle
He's not as
who was actually smaller than Mendy. And read about Arnie Weinmeister and what you're gonna come to the conclusion of, Jonathan. Best interior defensive lineman in the history of the Giants.
Oh, wow.
Arnie Weinmeister. Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Len. Appreciate it. 201-939-4513. We'll take one more quick one if somebody wants to get in. And the answer is no, I did not watch him play. Okay? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, just ask Paul. He knows.
He was born in the 20s.
I did not watch Arnie Weinmeister play.
That's
him. That's him. Yeah.
He got the old football pose like this.
Yeah, that's the old black and white film is what that is, okay?
I'll check them out. I like to learn my history of the Giants. When I was here, they had us kind of learn like the big time players.
He's got a bust in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's
dope. I mean, the Giants are a storic franchise, man, and I'm just so happy to be still a part of it.
Oh man!
After I done retired and shut it down, I'm not playing anymore. And they look at me today. I walk into the they talking about, oh, you want to suit up? No, I'm not trying to suit up, Paul. I want to be sitting next to Paul during the game.
I've heard more than one person say that to Jonathan.
I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that action.
You took a lot of bumps and bruises.
Absolutely. I gave some too, but I definitely absorbed a lot.
Without a doubt. I tell people all the time, man, I have so much respect for him because I know a lot of what he went through. Not everything, but I know a lot of what he went through, and to play as long as he did in this league and become a starter later on in his career, which a lot of guys would not even be able to make that.
I appreciate that, Paul.
You know what I mean?
Much
no,
respect.
seriously, you know that, and you know how I feel about you.
Yeah, man.
It's one thing to say, I hung around for 10 years only as a backup or only as a special teams guy. This guy played a ton of snaps when he got to the Giants.
Yep.
A ton.
Yep.
Full-time player. 201-939-4513. Did we have a final call? No, we didn't, Pearson. Nobody else called us up. All right. Not a problem. We will be back tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember the time change because of the practice change. Hopefully all will go well and all of our equipment will work properly down at Florham Park. Okay, we're going to the land of the green.
Yeah, land of the green.
Okay, John and I, you're going to be with us, right?
Maybe. I'm supposed to be there. That's
Okay,
what
well, I
we
hope
talked
so.
about it. Yeah,
all
I'm
right,
trying.
so just don't run out onto the field. All right, I don't want to have any trouble with you down there. All right, so Giants Jets practice tomorrow is 1 to 3. And if everything goes well, we are hoping we will have audio only, a live edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time with complete coverage of the joint practice between the Giants and the Jets as they get ready for Saturday's preseason game. And we're looking forward to it. We think it's going to be a very interesting, if not eventful, practice. So that's about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, man.
All right, that'll do it for today's show. Again, 201-939-4513 is our phone number as always. Jot it down. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. For Jonathan Casillas, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll talk to you next time.